The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with energy as representatives from 12 starfaring species sat in tense silence. Suspended in orbit above the twin moons of Naraxis Prime, the crystalline chamber radiated an eerie calm, until the heavy echo of a forearm strike shattered it. Thwack! Ambassador Crics of the Voltanian Dominion slammed his scaled fist onto the transparent podium, cracks radiating like frozen lightning. The Voltanian's crimson-hued scales pulsed with rising intensity, a dangerous signal among his kind. He stared coldly at the chamber's delegates. "You have no idea what you've done," Crics hissed. His voice processed through a bio-organic translator strapped to his chest. The common-tongue rendition did little to mask the fury buried beneath. From across the circular council platform, Chancellor Vaoth of the Nexari Empire reclined in his levitating obsidian throne. His 8 tentacles coiled lazily beneath him, a smirk creeping across his features. "They are a primitive race," Vaoth drawled. "A species from a single backwater planet, crawling with tribal conflicts and outdated technologies. Why should we treat them with any form of diplomatic exception?" Cricks's fists trembled. "We had a pact, Chancellor," he growled. "One universal accord signed by every species in this chamber. Do not interfere with the humans. They were to be left untouched, observed, never provoked." A murmur rolled through the gallery as uneasy glances passed between diplomats. Some of the elder races shifted in their seats, claws tapping metal, mandibles twitching, or wings folding tighter. Deep in the archives of every culture present, there were cautionary entries about humanity, too often dismissed as superstition. Crics continued, lowering his voice to a sharp whisper. "You attacked a human colony ship, the Odyssey Dawn. It carried 3,000 civilians' families on a peaceful migration to New Terra. Mining in our territory," Vaoth snapped, "unregistered and unauthorized. My scouts confirmed it was extracting rare minerals from Nexari space. That vessel was clearly marked as civilian," Ambassador Lyra of the Centauri Federation interrupted. Her pale blue skin had faded to nearly white, a sign of horror among her people. "We've reviewed the transmission logs. They broadcast peaceful intent across all known frequencies." "And what of it?" Vaoth's tentacles writhed with irritation. "Do we not have the right to defend our borders? Since when does our sovereignty require human approval?" Crics took a slow breath. "Because they are human, and among all the species in this galaxy, they are the one you never provoke." Another silence, this one deeper. Admiral Thane of the Hegemony, a withered warrior whose body was more metal than flesh, shifted slowly in his seat. His artificial joints creaked softly as he leaned forward. The Admiral had not spoken in over a century of sessions, but his weathered face now held grim resolve. "They don't quit," Thane murmured. All eyes turned. "Every other species," the Admiral went on, "has learned when to retreat, when to cut losses and submit to superior force. But not humans. They fight past reason, past pain, past logic. They fight until they win, or nothing is left. Foolishness, not strength," Vaoth scoffed. "What have they ever accomplished that warrants our fear?" Crics turned slowly and activated the central hologram projector. A massive, three-dimensional projection erupted from the center of the chamber. What followed chilled even the coldest hearts. Scenes from Earth's past flashed in rapid sequence. Volcanic eruptions, collapsing empires, global wars, famines, tsunamis, viral outbreaks, civilizations rising and falling, species gone extinct. "They survived 6 ice ages," Crics narrated, "turned deserts into gardens, made cities from wastelands. When threatened with nuclear annihilation by their own kind, they de-escalated. When disease wiped out millions, they found cures. And when their home began to fail, they looked to the stars. The hologram shifted, showing space stations orbiting Earth, terraformed planets, cities on moons, and ships far more advanced than previously known. They've mastered faster-than-light travel using quantum entanglement drive arrays. Built alloys we still can't identify. Their AI systems run on principles our researchers haven't even defined. You exaggerate, Vaoth said, though the tremor in his voice betrayed uncertainty. Do I? Crics asked. Then answer this. How many starships does the Nexari fleet command? 15,000, Vaoth answered proudly. Crics's expression remained neutral. Humanity has constructed over 30,000 ships in the past solar year. Not warships, civilian transports for colonial expansion. But every one of them can be retrofitted for combat within days. The room went still. Lyra whispered, "That's not a fleet. That's an armada." They weren't preparing for war, Crics said. They were preparing for survival. And now you've given them something they've never had before, a reason to unite. Admiral Thane spoke again. My networks confirm it. Military manufacturing across human space is in overdrive. Civilian crews are being conscripted. Orbital defense arrays are being activated. They're not mobilizing for defense, Crics added. They're preparing for total war. Vaoth stood abruptly, his tentacles flaring in panic. No species goes to war over a single ship. Crics's gaze narrowed. You didn't just destroy a ship. You murdered their children. You shattered a promise. And worse, you underestimated them. Vaoth's arrogance cracked. They've faced extinction before, Crics went on. They never yielded. They never negotiated. They adapted. They evolved. They endured. Now you've made your empire their target. Not because of conquest, but because you've made yourself the embodiment of an existential threat. A heavy stillness settled. I've seen this before, Thane whispered. When humans are divided, they bicker. They rage. They collapse. But when they are threatened, truly threatened, they become something else entirely. One mind. One will. One weapon. Vaoth's voice had dropped to a desperate rasp. This is madness. Crics stepped back from the podium, his scales dimming to a deep, solemn violet, the Voltanian color of mourning. It is no longer a matter of what you believe, Chancellor. It is a matter of what comes next. The lights dimmed. In the far corner of the chamber, a silent alarm activated. A soft but steady wail echoed from the Council's outer security systems. The hologram shifted once more, this time displaying a fleet of vessels emerging from hyperspace. Hundreds of human ships, sleek, angular, efficient. Transmission intercepted, Lyra whispered, eyes wide. They're broadcasting a message. The chamber speakers crackled with static. Then a human voice rang out, calm, clear, and utterly devoid of fear. To the Galactic Council, we come not for vengeance, but for justice. You knew the cost. You chose to break the accord. We will show you what it means to stand against the will of humanity. Vaoth collapsed into his chair, his tentacles limp. Crics turned and began walking toward the exit, his voice echoing through the chamber one last time. Congratulations, Chancellor. You've started a war with the one species in this galaxy that has never learned how to lose.